Hi, and welcome to Author Conversations. As usual, I'm Chris Dabbs, and today we've got something, well, a little bit different to talk about. So let me ask you a question. What happens when the least likely knight in the kingdom becomes its most celebrated hero? Well, that sounds interesting, doesn't it? Well, Ray Denyeau's Algernon Breadstick, the Hapless Knight, introduces us to a man who has dreamed of knighthood all his life, but fails his tournament. Oh, that's not a good start, is it? Gets lost on the way to his adventures, even worse, and often seems more interested in apples and ale. Actually, that sounds like me, than glory. So I don't know where we're going to go from there. But you know what? Algernon's supposed weaknesses become his greatest strengths. So instead of simply slaying the creatures that he meets, which is kind of what you'd expect, right? He listens to them. He befriends them and basically goes down the pub with them and discovers that the monsters are often misunderstood. I'm not sure about the pub bit, but you know. Anyway, so Ray wrote his first book later in life, after years of making up stories for his family. Oh. Today, we'll talk about beginning at 63, the real inspiration behind Algernon, and why kindness, persistence, and comedy may make a better hero than brute force, which sounds like a plan to me. So, Ray Denyer, welcome to Author Conversations. How
Thank
are you?
And I feel very welcomed.
Good. That's all right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, let's jump straight into it then.
Yes.
So, Ray, you say that you'd always dreamed of becoming an author, right? But, you know, life gets in the way of all the things that we want to do. So, I mean, you know, what finally made this the moment to begin?
That's an easy question. 14 grandchildren.
How many? 14?
14 grandchildren. I used to make up stories for my siblings in that time between going to bed and falling asleep. I used to make up stories to make them laugh and sometimes just to bore them to sleep. Then I started making up stories for my children. I've always been good at making up stories. And then my grandchildren, and everybody been on at me, you got to write it down. You got to write it down. So I started writing it down. And as they say, the rest is history.
Well, I mean, you know, it's not just the fact that you've just written something, right? It's actually, you know, interesting and it's fun at the same time, right? So, you know, that's the point.
I hope so.
So what, you know, was there a particular sort of like, I don't know, conversation or moment or family reaction other than everyone saying, come on, granddad, write these down, you know, that pushed you into telling stories or writing this particular one?
But I'd always had the name, the character, for years. And then when I put it together with Knights, it sounded better. Sir Algernon worked brilliantly. So I resurrected the name, as it were, and started to write. And it just flowed. There was no real thinking about it. I'd nicked bits from other stories I'd made up, and just took it. And then it seemed to take on a life of its own. And now Algernon's a character, and I've just finished writing the second one, the follow-up.
Great. Well, that's okay then. So we're going to look forward to hearing, seeing and reading and hearing all that. Great. All right. So you mentioned obviously that you started writing later in life because of all the, you know, work stuff and whatever.
Yes.
I mean, 14 grandchildren. That's going to affect me for the rest of the day, I think. But anyway, how do you think that starting later, you know, with more experience under your belt, perhaps, or more time because you weren't working and things, do you think that gave you a sort of like confidence or maybe some different perspectives that you might not have had when you were younger?
It gave me an overall picture of the world as I see it, and well, without going into too much detail, I wanted to show people that you shouldn't give up on your dreams. With me, I left it very late, but it was never too late, and it's the same. I've fed that into Algernon. When he failed, he went to the pub and had an ale, and thought, "This is it." And the barman said to him, "Well, don't give up. You've always wanted to be a knight. Go on a quest." And Algernon said, "That's a good idea. What's a quest?" And I've been on many a quest myself after going to the pub, maybe, but we won't go there. And he says, "Why don't you go and kill the Loch Ness monster? It's big enough to attract the attention of the king. and it will make you an instant hero. You'll be knighted straight away. And that's good because he didn't know where to find the Loch Ness Monster. He went to Wales to begin with, got lost, then found himself in Scotland, and he's sitting on the bank, and the Loch Ness Monster comes up and says, "Hello, Algernon." And he said, "How do you know my name?" He said, "Because I'm a mythical creature and I know everything." Then he says, "I also know you've come to slay me." And Algernon said, "Well, yeah, that might have been a good idea last night, but, sitting here, it's not a good idea, is it?" And the Loch Ness Monster says, "I think we could mutually benefit each other here. I need to disappear from public life, and you need to be a knight. I lost a tooth yesterday. If I go and find it and give it to you, I can disappear, and you can tell the king you slayed me, but I was too heavy to bring back, so you brought the tooth as proof." And as the story goes on, he goes back to the king, gives him the tooth, and he knights him. But this is just the beginning of his problems, because from there, he tells Algernon, "You can be my mythical creature slayer. I've got a dragon." And he goes to the dragon and he says, "Hello, Algernon." And Algernon said, "Oh, don't tell me. You're a mythical creature and you know everything." And he said, "No, actually, my cousin, the Loch Ness Monster, told me you was coming." But that's only the beginning of his problems, because then the Vikings come, and I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, it's
Not the Vikings.
pretty exciting.
Yeah, it sounds it, actually. It does sound it. I mean, yeah, the mythical creature knowing that he was coming. I love that little twist there. With the other one, you think mythical creature is just going to say, "Oh, yeah, I know." But no, I like that one. Battles's cousin. Excellent. So, I guess as you're writing, you're kind of improvising it, right? Obviously, and
Yes.
it's coming out. But were there particular parts in other stories, as you said, that you'd done that kind of, that your grandchildren probably laughed at or something like that, and you thought, right, I'm definitely making sure that Algernon does that sort of stuff?
Yeah, names, characters, pictures of characters, that if they laughed, I took that as a positive and I added it in. But what I do is I write part of the story, then I read it back, and if it reads right, I carry on. Sometimes I do overthink it and go back 3 or 4 times, but I usually end up with the original story anyway. So I've decided that maybe that's not such a good idea.
Well, yeah, exactly. Take it fresh, right? So as it comes out, then you can always tidy it up later on, can't you, through editing and whatnot? But yeah, as long as you've got
tidy up the grammar.
Yeah, exactly. That's the easy part. So, okay, let's go back to Algernon, right? And his name. Yes. Algernon, I mean, I must admit, I did laugh. Algernon Breadstick. Okay, what is that about? Where does the breadstick part come from?
Well, if you can keep a secret and there's nobody listening.
Well, I hope there is, but yeah.
I had Algernon, and we sat down to an Italian meal with the grandchildren, and they said, "Do you want a breadstick?" And then the wheels started turning, and I said, "No, but Algernon might want a breadstick. Maybe we should call him Sir Algernon Breadstick." And they fell about. So that was good enough for me. He was then Algernon Breadstick. And Sir Algernon now.
After all his hard work, right?
Yes, he deserves it.
Yeah, and a bit of shenanigans, but I mean, he did lots of traveling, right? So then, fair enough then. But okay, so that's quite funny. Because I think that you've got some sort of fancy first name, Algernon, and then you've got Breadstick coming up afterwards. So that kind of tells us, doesn't it? It gives us a story, or immediately, as soon as you read it, you know that this isn't Sir Lancelot or, someone really sort of, that's going to be like that. Was that a plan, or was it?
I think we should all laugh at ourselves if we take ourselves too seriously. And because it doesn't work, or because it shouldn't work, and it does work, that made it even funnier for them. They were talking about it for days, and every time they come up to see me, they go, "And how is Algernon Breadstick?" So
they love that part.
It sticks. Yeah, I have to have it approved by the grandchildren first. So that usually works.
Seal of approval there.
Yes, I think you have to. They're my target audience anyway.
Well, exactly. And, young adults and things. It's yeah, really important, I reckon. Okay, so let's find out a bit more about Algernon then. So he has trained for 12 years, right? But that hasn't helped
Yes.
him, has it? Because he failed to score a single point in his tournament, or tournaments, I should say. But I mean, why do you want to begin such a story with such a spectacular failure, really?
Because I think all success is grounded in failure. It's the way we learn, it's the way we grow, it's the way we develop. So I wanted to show that he was just your everyday Mr. Breadstick. And the fact that he doesn't give up and he keeps going, and he can see in his mind that, everything's going to be okay, don't worry about it. And sometimes it's not. But if you don't give up and keep tweaking, you're going to get there anyway.
I think that's a big lesson to try and give over, isn't it?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, even in adulthood, they don't get it. They just think that they failed and that's that. But no, learn from it. Yeah, right. I totally agree with that.
And also, people get up in the morning and they've got all the odds are stacked against them, and it just shows that it don't matter. You could be threatened by a mythical creature, but you'll come through.
Yeah.
Just got to have faith. Yeah.
Or as long as you're friendly. Or because, well, then you wouldn't know much about it. So, fair enough. And
yeah.
So, I mean, all right. So if you think about that, then that first setback, that he's sort of like come through, and you're asking people to sort of like support him through the beginning and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, how much of that, if you like, do you kind of use that as in other words, don't give up? How do you use that as a kind of, right, this is the message in the story, but you know what? I'm going to explain why all the way through, if you see what I mean, so that you can build on that message. Was that a plan, or was it, did it just sort of
I have to say it was a plan. It makes me look intelligent, but no, it developed. I don't know how it works, but Algernon became a person. My whole family know him personally, and I feel that we all make mistakes. We're not perfect, but perseverance and an ultimate goal, not a plan, because it's going to have to be tweaked all the time. A basic outline and an ultimate goal, and we'll get there every single time.
Oh, this is really nice. I like these stories. Yeah, this is great. I mean, if you're reading the book and you're in that, Algernon's world kind of thing, do you think that the people who, other people in the book, do they realize, right, that he's really a bit of a, I don't know, or they think, not realize, but they think that he's a bit of a buffoon or something like that. He's always getting it wrong and that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, to begin with.
Right. And then they realize
that maybe he's got something. We don't know what it is. I mean, the king see right through him after the Vikings, but we won't go there because it will spoil the story. Exactly. But the king knew that whatever challenge he set him, he would deal with it in his own special way. And because he could communicate with mythical creatures, that was also a bonus for the king. And he could deal with all his mythical creature problems.
Now, that's a good point, right? So for readers and everything else, unless you think it is too much of a spoiler, I mean, is he the only person that can talk to mythical creatures in that universe kind of thing?
Well, the mythical creatures can allow people, and they're allowing him because they see a friend, not an enemy, or, somebody wants to capture them, making fun of them. He's on their level, which doesn't say a lot for Algernon, but he's on their level, and they believe they can achieve it. So, he develops friendship with mythical creatures, and because they know everything, they tell each other, so that when he's in different countries or different areas, the mythical creatures in that area know he's coming, and they know that they can trust him.
It's kind of nice, actually.
Or eat him.
Or eat. They're a bit hungry. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So, okay. So for your point of view, you see Algernon as like a real person, right? As your family does.
Yes.
So what do you think of him now then? I mean, Because if he's a real person, you're not like making him into the best person possible, because we all have our own faults, right? So do you see him as brave?
Well,
Yeah, watch out. Otherwise, I think it's an SOS call.
basically, I feel that none of us are perfect. I've made some real big mistakes and I've come through, and I can relate to him. So, yeah, we become buddies. And as a result, I've sent him all over the world. In the second book, he's on his crusade.
Crusade. That's amazing. Is that a conventional crusade? You know, like the one that we know, or the ones we know about from history, or is it some sort of?
No, he just escorts some pilgrims to the Holy Land, but it becomes a pilgrimage through the people he meets and the people he helps.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Oh, we'll talk about that next time, Ben.
Yes.
Okay, now that's fine then. Now the book tells readers, right, that dreams obviously, well, they can come true if we're all brave enough not really to give up. I think that's the main point.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. And learn from that. I mean, you mentioned that you've made mistakes, and and obviously if you've got 14 grandchildren, you've got children that you've also seen, do that sort of thing. So, I mean, what would you say to anybody then who thinks that they've left it too late to become an author, or to become whatever, or to do whatever?
Nobody could have left it later than me. I am now 69 and I'm talking to you. So it's never too late. Yeah. I feel that while we've still got breath, we've still got a chance. And basically, own up, say that I made a mistake, I'm going to put it right. And then when people see that you start putting your mistakes right, and I'm drawing on myself here, once people see that you're willing to put your mistakes right and you're willing to grow from them, anything's possible. And hopefully you get a second chance.
But you got to try in the first place, I guess.
Oh, yes. Yeah, never give up. Never stop believing. Oh, I sound like a song, don't I?
I think I've heard.
Just keep adapting to the today. You can't change yesterday, but tomorrow, it's not even written yet. We just take it as it comes. Keep your goal in mind and have small wins. Algernon's a great one for small wins, and then at the end of the week, you can add them all up and have a good win.
Yeah, see, that's a really good point, isn't it? Exactly. Yes. It's not all or nothing all the time, is it? It is just about making sure that happens. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, with life in general, it's just a slow, steady progression. And that's all we can ask for. And we better than we were yesterday. That's the main thing. And throughout the book, his confidence grows. So then he'll be making better decisions, having more courage. So his wins will, in fact, get bigger. And that's the same with us all, Yeah, it's all good.
No, exactly. I have to ask you as well, actually, thinking about Algernon and the way that he is. I mean, apples, ale, right, taking the wrong turns, going to the wrong place. And he tends to sleep under tables quite often as well, actually. So, how deliberately did you sort of build those trips to the pub or inn or whatever it is, into that to try and make it sort of a comedy? And was that really based on your own experiences, Ray? I mean,
yeah, I believe in the repetitive joke. And when I researched Knights, it seemed that they had a diet of ale and apples, and it just grew from there. From the moment he failed, he went to the pub, he spoke to the landlord, and that's where it progressed from. And I think even today we go to the pub, we talk to the landlord, and sometimes he gives us silly ideas, and sometimes he gives us a quest. So, I think people can relate to Algernon because, yes, he knows he's a failure, but he's working on it. And he's what they call a work in progress.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what we should all really think about, isn't it? Yeah, no, too right. Okay, well, I can't believe it. We're running out of time. It's always the way. But I love listening to you, Ray. I can see why your family love listening to your stories as well. I mean, I think this is the thing. You've got Algernon. He befriends the monsters instead of slaying them. So the Loch Ness monster saves his life, basically, and the man who came to stay with him instead becomes his friend.
Yes.
So this is like my penultimate question then. Why was kindness more interesting to you than combat? Because you could have written one way, just go down and like slays every mythical creature around, couldn't you?
Yeah, but then isn't that where the world's going wrong now? Maybe if we all sat down and spoke honestly, we'd all be a little bit more like Algernon. Conflict there's no winners with conflict. There has to be a loser. But if you can become friends, you've got two winners. You can, count on each other, which will make you stronger and make all those goals come a little bit closer.
You're very wise, Ray. Yeah, that's a good point, though, isn't it?
I'm 69. I should be.
You should be. Well, I think I know a few. But anyway, so as you're 69 then, what has becoming like a published author in your 60s made possible?
Unbelievable. Especially things like today, because then I put them on my social media and everybody says, oh, you must be doing something right. And I think it's just pride, because I've got 14 grandchildren. I'm 69 and I want to leave a legacy. And I don't think there's a better legacy than Algernon Breadstick. When later on in life, when the children need it, they could go, hang on, what would Algernon do? And if they can relate to that, it's like I'm still giving them advice, putting them on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Ray, Denyer, thank you so much for all of that.
No, thank you. The pleasure was all mine.
Thank you, Ray. I mean, seriously, I really enjoyed
no problem.
To you. And, I am going to be thinking of Algernon Breadstick and all of these things and taking those positive life lessons more actually, because, we always have a little bit of a problem, but learn from it. And next time that problem hopefully will, not reoccur because you've changed something or you're doing something differently, right?
Yeah, I think the basic point of the story is that when we're facing something for the first time, it can be daunting. But if you're facing it and you think, hang on, I had something similar to this before, that way didn't work, maybe I should try a new way. And we develop, because once we've made the same mistake twice, we're not going to make it a third. Or we might not get the opportunity to make a third.
No, hopefully not. Oh, hopefully you won't need to. Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, Ray Denyer, thank you very much for joining me.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you.
And brilliant. Well, I tell you what, have you got a website or have you got something that people can contact you on?
Yeah, raydenyer.com.
Easy peasy. Right, there we go then.
And I'm all over social media, so my grandchildren tell me.
So you can't have a go at anyone else about spending too long with your phone, right? So... Okay, well, brilliant. You heard it here first, people. raydenyer.com, and also Algernon will be back in the future. Hopefully, Ray.
Yes, indeed.
Talk again. And it's been lovely to meet you. Thanks very much.
And you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
If you enjoyed this conversation, you can watch more author conversations here.